Top of the evening, everybody, on a good Thursday night, the 20th day of June, 2024, 2620, full moon night. God, help us all hide the kids. Hide the McFiles audience. I've got my cowboy hat on wrong. Even the Mac man don't even know how to put his hat on. Look at this crazy hat. It's Eddie Cole's fault. There we go. That's better. Good to see everybody tonight. Do I have that thing on backwards? I think I do. I do. Look at that. See, I don't know how to wear this thing. It's good to see everybody. You know you're in trouble when the cowboy hat comes out. Hey, it's good to see. We wasn't going to be here tonight, but we decided not to travel tonight. We decided to stick it out here because I wanted to plan a little bit better for the weekend. I'll be getting up in the morning. And we're headed to Ohio, the Buckeye State. Is that right? Yeah, the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's right. Hawkeyes are Iowa. Buckeyes are Ohio. Dear friends up there, dear family, and we're coming to the big city. I think it's big. Dalton, Ohio. I'll probably get to Dalton. There'll be one red light. So it shouldn't be too hard to find the Dutch Kitchen Event Center tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I'm just in a good mood tonight. So it's going to be a fun show tonight. We're not going to have a lot of tension. I just dropped my glasses, so give me a minute. I'm going to have to find my glasses. Or hang on just 1 second. Let me get my glasses. We are live sometimes, and it's not the most professional show when we're live like this. It's not the professional show anytime, is it? But we're grateful that you're here tonight. But we will be in Ohio tomorrow night for the start of our weekend prophecy conference, just Friday and Saturday. Friday night, 7 o'clock, then Saturday morning at 10. We'll have a lunch break, and then we'll meet again at 2. And then tomorrow night, or Saturday night, 7 o'clock, will be the final session. So 4 sessions, no Sunday, in Ohio. We'll be back here for a Sunday night service on our Faith Network. Hopefully we'll be back Sunday by that time. We hope so. But if something changes, we'll let you know. But next week, things will be back to normal from Monday right on through Sunday. And actually, Saturday, next week, we're going to have a Saturday night gospel sing a week from this Saturday. We hadn't had one of those in a long time. And I know a lot of you tell me you missed those. And I've missed them too. And we're going to get back to playing that good old Southern gospel music. And it's just a good couple hours to relax and enjoy. So a lot of good stuff coming. And that's on our Faith Network. Tonight, we're on our news network. And we've got a few stories we want to run over with you. Now, I'm going to give you a chance to chat here at the end and ask you questions. And it is good to see everybody. And I see old Jake, a franchise, in the house with us tonight from Chicagoland. Good to see you, Jake. Good to see my buddy Jamie. Jody. Jody, I'm sorry about that. Lori, good to see you tonight. Angela Hargrove. KCYN Media. Nice to see you. Whoever you are, good to see you. Susan Brewski, good to see you. Dory West, dearly beloved, good to see you. Kathy Long, good to see you tonight. We're grateful for all the folks that are up, and that's our YouTube audience now. With Lane Willard, I saw her chime in earlier. Tim Neal's in the house tonight, and some others. We've got Anna and Natalie Taylor is in the house, and we're grateful that all of you are here tonight, and so forth. All right, now, I wanted to talk about a story. I'm going to just run through these headlines real quick, do a little commentary, and then I'm going to get you to interact with us tonight at the end. I've not really addressed the anti-Semitism that's out there much lately. And I've been hoping that it would die down a little bit with the summer. The kids are gone from college. Most of these college campuses have let out for the summer. And I'd hope that perhaps cooler heads would prevail in our country and smarter heads would prevail. But that does not seem to be the case. If you didn't hear the news tonight, Biden sort of cut off the arms supply to Israel. He's not sending her weapons like we were before. They've slow walked him, slow tracked him. Not good, not a good look. But I'm going to be addressing we always do, every conference we've had, the one in Houston, the one in Jacksonville, the one in Louisiana, and the one in South Dakota. This would be our third one. I've really done 4 of these, but the first one I wasn't in charge of. But it gave me the inspiration to do them, and our attendance has been increasing rapidly since the first one. And we're going to be dealing with this head-on Saturday afternoon, so I want you to be with me in Ohio. We'll be discussing this on the Faith Network, but I'm going to deal tonight a little bit with some of the posts that I've seen just today, over the last week. And, folks, it is an abhorrent shame. It is an abhorrent shame. I want to go on record tonight and say a couple of things. This Korzakian mafia crap that you hear out there, that's what it is. I'm in a Thursday night mood. If I have to define crap for you, what I really want to say, let's just say if you were down in a cow pasture on a hot South Georgia afternoon in the summertime, and you did this for a reason, that's what it really is. It's a pile of turd. And I see this out there, and I see people that literally are claiming they're Christians. They literally post these posts and saying the Christian community has an obligation to stand up to the Korzakian mafia, known as the Jewish people. That these Korzakian Jews have this conspiracy to take over the world, the conspiracy to take over the banks, the conspiracy to take over everything. They're infiltrating the American government. They've infiltrated the governments of the world. The reason why America is standing with Israel is the pressure of the Korzakian mafia. I'm going to be addressing that a little bit, but I want to tell the people that are pushing that, you know, you can believe what you want to believe, and I have to bite my tongue lately. I've had to bite my tongue because I made the Lord a promise. We're not going to trash people. We're not going to torch the place like we have in the past. I want to be frank with you. I want to call names, and I want to just, I'm going to show you some posts, and the names are going to be there, and I can't cut the names off, but you're going to see some of this mess tonight. I want to show you a couple of things. It's out there on the X, the former Twitter. But I want to tell you this tonight, folks. If you're listening to that kind of garbage, and you're exposing yourself to that kind of garbage, and you're exposing yourself to that, you're no better than they are. You need to stop listening to it. You need to stop listening to it. I can't force you. I'm not your babysitter. I'm not your babysitter. But we are either going to stand with Israel and stand with her through this fight, or we're not. I'm speaking politically tonight, but there's a spiritual component to this, as many of you know. They that bless Israel are blessed. Those that curse Israel are cursed. Now, Israel is in a good place spiritually tonight. There's no denying that. I'm not even telling you that Israel's government is in a good place tonight, because it's not. But is our government in any better place tonight? Can you seriously tell me that the American government is in a good place? And can you seriously look at me and tell me that the reason that we're having our problems here is because Jews control our government? Seriously? Or this conspiracy, Korzakian conspiracy crap? Every problem, folks, and let me tell you, and the reason I'm saying this, that's exactly what the world did in 1936 and 37, and it culminated in the night of the broken glass on November the 18th of 1938. It culminated in that. By the way, you know what's interesting about that date? 40 years to the day, on November the 19th of 1978, you know what happened in a little jungle community down in Guyana, South Africa? A man by the name of Jim Jones caused 912 people to take Kool-Aid, lay suicide, and commit mass suicide. He killed some of them. He forcibly forced some of them to do it. That's when the late Congressman Leo Ryan was shot and murdered on that tarmac. They were playing. I'm watching this documentary on National Geographic this week, and Jackie Spear, and I'm no fan of Jackie Spear. She's a Democrat loon, but she was there with Congressman Ryan that day and almost died. And the horror stories that came out of that. But it's ironic how history, it's just ironic how history repeats itself and does these cycles. It's amazing to me. But Nazi Germany, on the night of November the 18th, 19th of 38, they basically declared all Jewish businesses open game. And the Nazis perpetrated this ruse. And these gangs and these thugs and these SS youth went out and busted out so much glass in the Jewish businesses, it was termed in history as the night of the broken glass, because it happened in Berlin and all over Germany. And it really began the start, if there was an official start, to the Holocaust, which cost the world 6 million Jews. I was watching things today, folks, on the internet that's denying that the numbers of Auschwitz are accurate. I got to show you one thing, if you don't mind. I'm going to do it right here, and then I'm going to get to my main stories now, because I got something to talk to you evangelicals about. But I got to show you this, because we're going to deal with this weekend. But I want to. This is from Mr. Peters, the snake venom guy, and this is a mockery. But he posted this today on his X account, and I want you to look at this and look closely at it. This ain't 20 years ago, 10 years ago. This ain't a bunch of college kids. This is a guy with 500,000 Twitter followers who suckered about half of those Twitter followers, and maybe some of you tonight, into buying his little snake venom kit, because he convinced the world that the government and the Jews were putting snake venom in our water. But this is the one and only Stu Peters tonight. And I hate to call his name, but I got really no choice to do it, because it's right there on the thing. But this is the stuff that's coming from so-called Christians, because Peters pushes himself off as a Christian. He says, I'm a Christian. And then you look at his Twitter feed, and you can take about 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute to figure out he ain't. But, folks, the parallel is similar, because it was the Christian church in Germany that never said nothing about Adolf Hitler, what he was doing, and basically gave carte blanche to Hitler to kill the Jews. Watch this video, and I'll come back because I got more to say about this. But this is Stu Peters' take on Auschwitz. I want you to watch this. Watch this. Now, there's no sound to it. Do you see what those ladies are doing there? He's claiming that in Auschwitz there was no gas chambers. He's claiming that they were gardening and the women were doing secretarial work. And he claims this is actual footage of Auschwitz. And the insinuation is it was a happy place for the Jew. And, you know, he doesn't even hide it that the Jews had it made there. They're just happy-go-lucky people playing basketball. See that? Oh, the Jews are just so happy. Just so happy. Well, I'm going to stop it right there. That's only, if you don't believe me, folks, go to Stu Peters at X. I don't follow him. I wouldn't encourage you following him, but it's right there. If you think I'm making this stuff up, I'm not. But this is also on his page, and I found this very intriguing. He took a shot at Anne Frank. If you've ever known the story about Anne Frank, in her diary, it's the most famous diary that came out of the Holocaust. She recorded in her diary the day that the Nazis came and got her family and her, and she was never seen again. Her daddy was the only one that survived this whole ordeal. The whole Frank family was murdered in gas chambers. I want you to look at what Mr. Peter, there he is right there. And I'm not taking a shot at Stu tonight. I pray for his soul. But he's mainstream, folks. He's a mainstream voice on X. And he says, this is a picture of Otto Frank after World War II revisiting the attic. You see, he's got it in quotes. It's a slap. Where he hid with his daughter Anne Frank from the Nazis. And then Stu chimes in on this. And he says, well, it sure looks suspicious and spacious with plenty of headroom. Also, if this is in the attic, where do the stairs in the background lead to? So what he's insinuating is that the Anne Frank diary is a fraud. And that Otto Frank was not telling the truth, that his daughters got slaughtered by the Nazis in Auschwitz, Germany. There it is right there. You can read it for yourself. There's another one. by Mr. Peterson. And he says, X is attempting to put us all in a digital prison camp while selling our data to Israel. That's Stu at his best. That is Stu at his best. Here's another one by Mr. Peters. Mainstream. Y'all be seeing this in Ohio Saturday night. He says Satanism also has Jewish roots like every other degeneracy in the world. And that is where the Korzakian Mafia crap comes in, because see what they do. They try to tie the Korzakian Jews, and folks, you cannot find any historical record of this. You cannot find any biblical record of this. You cannot find any fact to this. This is a Q-based, meth-induced dream and haze that is over the minds of people that should know better. But they link it to Satanism. And by extension, people like this individual believes that the Jews are satanic. They believe that the Jews are satanic. Hitler did too. Hitler did too. Hitler did too. I want you to listen to Benjamin Netanyahu tonight, and then I'm going to go into my other story, because I hadn't done this in a while. I've not addressed this in a while, and it needs to be addressed tonight. I hadn't done it for a while, and it's been eating at me like a cancer, what I've been witnessing over the last several weeks. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu. Just a few months ago, Benjamin Netanyahu, he rightly says what these college protests are like and was as they parallel history. I want you to listen to him.
What's happening on America's college campuses is horrific. Anti-Semitic mobs have taken over leading universities. They call for the annihilation of Israel. They attack Jewish students. They attack Jewish faculty. This is reminiscent of what happened in German universities in the 1930s. It's unconscionable. It has to be stopped. It has to be condemned, and condemned unequivocally. But that's not what happened. The response of several university presidents was shameful. Now, fortunately, state, local, federal officials, many of them have responded differently, but there has to be more. More has to be done. It has to be done not only because they attack Israel, that's bad enough. Not only because they want to kill Jews wherever they are, that's bad enough. It's also, when you listen to them, it's also because they say not only death to Israel, death to the Jews, but death to America. And this tells us that there's an anti-Semitic surge here that has terrible consequences. We see this exponential rise of anti-Semitism throughout America and throughout Western societies as Israel tries to defend itself against genocidal terrorists. Genocidal terrorists who hide behind civilians. Yet it is Israel that is falsely accused of genocide. Israel that is falsely accused of starvation and all sundry war crimes. It's all one big libel. But that's not new. We've seen in history that anti-Semitic attacks were always preceded by vilification and slander.
I'm going to stop him right there. Every anti-Semitic attack, folks, has started, and let's just get down to the facts. That's what this internet world and the world of Facebook and the world of Twitter and the world of YouTube and the world of Christianity and the world of everything else has turned into tonight is nothing but a pile of slander, vilification, lies, innuendo, half-truths, half-baked nonsense. Excuse my voice. It's a little wired up tonight. That's Stu Peter stuff, folks, just a few days ago. That's not past stuff. Didn't go digging. I just pulled X up tonight. I just happened to be curious because I hadn't looked at his page in a long time, and I said, well, I wonder what little Stu's up to. He's up to a lot. But this video is a few months, but it summarizes the equivalency of what's been going on in our nation, folks, at these campuses. And I got a story. There's a reason why I'm showing you this tonight, because something happened today as it relates to these protests, and you're going to see it in a minute. It's not going to make you happy. But he's absolutely right. How do you think, folks, the German church got convinced that Hitler was righteous in doing what he did to the Jews? And you say, well, the German church didn't believe that. Well, I tell you what, prove me wrong in history. Show me the voices in Germany that stood up to him, except two, and I'll go ahead and give you the two that did. And they both died deaths because they stood up to him. That's basically Bonhoeffer, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and Martin Niemöller. And there may be a few isolated German pastors over millions of people in Germany But for the most part, the German church stood back, folded their arms, and gave a little slight, silent nod to Hitler and said, kill him. Kill him. Because we're okay with it. It started with slander. And we're going to show you this Saturday, because every attack on the Jewish race, folks, in every pogrom, every Holocaust, every attempt to annihilate them, every time they've ever been put under this kind of siege, like they're being put under tonight, has always started with lies. Back in the not the 19th, but the 12th century maybe, in the 1200s, when the Black Plague hit the earth, the Jews got blamed for the Black Plague. And Spain and other nations in Europe started expelling and excommunicating and persecuting and killing Jews, claiming they were the reason for the Black Plague. We've not come any further 800 years later. And we've not really come any further than we have in the days of Haman, Hitler, and other despots, and Herod that have tried to exterminate the Jews. And folks, let me tell you this. This is not some kind of pro-Israel government endorsement. You that know me know that. I'm not sitting here trying to extol the Israeli government. I know that man there is not perfect, but there ain't a leader in this world that's perfect tonight. There ain't a government in this world that ain't corrupt. There ain't a government in this world that don't have problems. There ain't a government anywhere that don't have some issues. And I don't care if Donald Trump gets reelected. I do hope he does. But I can tell you his government will have problems in it too. Because we're human and it's run by men. Keep talking, Mr. Beebe. Enjoying the conversation. Go ahead.
Lies that were cast against the Jewish people that are unbelievable if people believe them.
If people believe them.
What's important now is for all of us who are interested and cherish our values and our civilization, to stand up together and to say enough is enough. We have to stop anti-Semitism, because anti-Semitism is the canary in the coal mine. It always precedes larger conflagrations that engulf the entire world. So I ask all of you, Jews and non-Jews alike, who are concerned with our common future and our common values, to do one thing. Stand up, speak up, be counted. Stop anti-Semitism now.
And in the spirit of stopping anti-Semitism, the courts today chimed in on this. And guess what happened? The Manhattan DA, you can thank the wonderful Manhattan DA for this. I'm pretty sure that's Bragg. He dropped the charges today against most of the 46 Columbia University protesters that were protesting the anti-Semitic stuff at Hamilton Hall. 31 had their charges dismissed. No charges. No charges. No charges. So, I guess they feel like it's okay to threaten Jews, call for their killing, and so forth. There was a post I wanted to show you. Let's see here. This is about 1:34. I want to play this for you. I want to play this video here for you. And we're going to get to the main story. It's just 10 o'clock. You ain't got nothing to do tonight. Now, I'm the one that's got to get up in the morning, but I'm going to stay up with you a little bit tonight if you don't mind. Are you with me tonight? Give me a thumbs up. This even gets in a little deeper. This gets deeper. Watch this.
The Holocaust ended in 1945. The hate behind it has not. So kids as young as second grade are spewing Nazi propaganda, which begs the question, who has positioned these young minds to attack the Jewish people?
House Republicans questioned school administrators' lack of disciplinary action in addressing discriminatory rhetoric.
All right, got a question for you. And this question was asked by Representative Wesley Hunt in Texas. He's a black man and a very good representative. He asked the question, and he shot back at the reporter because the reporter was trying to corner him on this. And Wesley Hunt, if you're out there tonight, tip of the hat for your wise response. But he basically said, if this rhetoric was being lodged against gays, blacks, or any other human race, let me tell you something, the world would be up in smoke tonight. You'd be having riots in Columbia University tonight. You'd be having riots in Atlanta, Georgia. You'd be having riots in St. Louis again, and Branson, and all these cities that went up in smoke 4 years ago in that summer. The country would be up in smoke tonight. Because they wouldn't tolerate it. Society wouldn't tolerate it. And I'm not justifying hateful rhetoric, folks, against blacks. It's not a justification of that. I'm not saying that to say we sure to do that, because we don't do that. Christian people don't do that. Christians don't say stuff about any race like that. But you be sure of this tonight. You can be sure of this. And I'm pretty sure Jake would agree with me. Chicago, Illinois would Jake would probably be on triple overtime tonight, having to deal with this crap up there where he's at. If this kind of crap was going on, and this was being targeted against blacks or gays or the transgender community or any other community other than the Jewish community, the world would be ticked off. It'd be ticked off. Roll that tape. It's about another minute. Roll that tape.
Concerns were also raised about hateful videos that...
And the reason I'm playing this, they're targeting your kindergartners with it, folks. They're targeting your first graders, your second graders, your third graders, your fourth graders, your fifth graders, your sixth graders, your seventh graders, your eighth graders, your ninth graders, your 10th graders, your 11th graders, your 12th graders. Alice Linehan's coming on Tuesday night, all the way to the workforce. It's starting in the education room.
Propagated anti-Semitism on popular social media platforms such as TikTok. Discussions revolved around incidents of anti-Semitism in K-12 schools, including a riot against a Jewish high school teacher in Queens, New York.
Is the former principal at Hillcrest still drawing a salary from New York City Public Schools today?
Yes, he is.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I said, yes, he is.
You were still paying
He's no longer the former of the school.
How can Jewish students feel safe at New York City Public Schools when you can't even manage to terminate the principal of Open Season on Jews High School?
Come on.
Proposed strategies at the hearing to combat anti-Semitism include modifying curricula to include a more comprehensive view of Jewish history and increased media literacy training to teach students to think critically about the content they consume on social media.
That's from the Epic Times. The Epic Times is a very good publication, one of the ones, a few that I have trust in. And it's an excellent piece there. And that story, we're going to actually post on our website at the McFiles War Room at Telegram. But folks, the point, I found it comical, the last statement that these books are going to have more of a fair view of Jewish history. I got a wonderful book. To suggest to the freaking school boards of America to get a good first-hand seat about Jewish history. It starts with a B and it ends with an E. The Bible. But you don't allow that in our school systems, do you? A child can get suspended and even expelled for bringing a Bible to his school, but he can bring hate speech and hate slogans and kill the Jews and blank the Jews and blank this and blank that and vulgarity and blank this and blank that, and he's labeled as a bastion of free speech society. You can't bring a Bible into the schools anymore, can you? That gives you the only true history of the Jewish race and why it is chosen by God, and it is, though away from God tonight, and the Jews at large are in blindness, they're going to be restored. And I'm going to tell you something, there's no mention of this country or any other nation surviving, folks, at the end. There's one that's going to be standing when the dust settles. It's the nation of Israel. But see, we can't bring the Bible in. So this idea that they're going to get a more fair picture of Jewish history is a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. That is a joke. It's a complete joke. By the way, here's Mr. Hunt's comment. I knew I found it somewhere. He says if black students were being targeted like Jewish students, this would have ended immediately. And he's absolutely right. He says if these were black students being targeted because of the color of their skin, Biden, Harris, the Democrat Jewish senator from New York, Chuck Schumer, and everybody else. I didn't get the whole post. Let me tell you this, folks. The hypocrisy, the left would be going apoplectic. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would be having task force assigned. The DOJ would be out investigating this. There's been nothing but silence coming from this government about this. Nothing. Jean-Pierre Clear, or whatever her name is, actually, with a straight face today, said Joe Biden's condemned the anti-Semitism more than any other American president ever has. That is a complete lie and a joke. That's also a pile of something that you see in a cow field on a hot South Georgia day. I'm being tamed tonight, but I don't want to be. I don't want to be. These are some cowards on a plane. By the way, a couple more of these, and then I'm going to show one more thing, and I got to get on this other story because I want to talk about something tonight that I came on to talk about. Here's the plane. I think that's a plane.
Raise your hands if you're a Zionist! Raise your hands if you're a Zionist! This is your chance to get out! This is your chance to get out! Okay, no Zionists are good. Woo! No Zionists
Listen again. Listen to this. They're saying, raise your hand if you're a Zionist.
Raise your hand if you're a Zionist! This is your chance to get out! This is your chance to get out! Okay, no Zionists are good. Woo! No Zionists
They started clapping because there wasn't no Zionists in there. Let me do a little Mr. Rogers' neighborhood moment for you anti-Zionists. Come closer to Daddy Chris. Come in close. The Lord's a Zionist, folks. God's a Zionist. I want to say it again. The word Zion is mentioned over 700 times in the Bible, all favorably. The Lord Jesus Christ comes from the line of the tribe of Judah, so it strikes me that he's probably got a disposition that's a little different than you anti-Semites towards Zion. And see, when they define Zionism, they can't even define it. These kids are stupid as dumb as rocks anyway. But did you notice the thing about that video? They all had masks on. They all had masks on. You know, I was a big fan of the Lone Ranger series back in the day when I was a kid. And Tonto. You know, Tonto was a brave one. He never had a mask, but the Lone Ranger had a mask on. You couldn't see his eyes. These cowards think they're real brave saying this crap, but they got their mask on because they don't want the cameras picking them up and their bosses knowing about it and you knowing about who they are, because some of you might recognize some of them. They don't want that. No. That's the sign of a spiritual, moral coward. It's no different than those that hide behind their telegram rooms and hide behind their keyboards and hide behind their X feeds and hide behind their Facebook posts and hide behind their crap on YouTube, and they don't even have the courage to put their real name. And then they slam and slander and lie about races and about things like this, and then they go out and they act real brave. But they don't want to stand up and stay behind what they're saying. They throw it out there and then run like a bunch of pack of cowards. And I'll say it tonight, they are spiritual and moral cowards. Who's the Zionist in here? You've got a chance to leave right now. I would have died if about 50 of them would have stood up and seen what this bunch did. That's the country we got tonight, folks. That's the country we're in. That's the country that this is in America. That was an American video. I don't know where it was at. It was on the bus somewhere. That's the bus. That was the bus. All right, a couple of more things. Greta Van Susteren. I didn't even know Greta was still on the. I didn't know she was on television anymore, but she is. Oh, this is something. This guy was interviewing the Hamas. I'm almost done. I've got to move on to something else. But this is interesting stuff here, because I hadn't talked about this in a long time. And this was as good a night to talk about as any. But this was a seminar, and I don't know who the gentlemen are involved, but this guy is addressing a reporter that's trying to call him out for his support of Israel. And I want you to listen carefully to this forum and the guy that was in charge of it. This is priceless. This is priceless. I wish I could get him on my show. It'd be a great interview because I'd tip my hat to him too. But watch this exchange between the seminar leader and a reporter that It's pro-Hamas. Watch this.
But you went to Gaza, right? You said you went to Gaza. How come you went to Gaza when the world's media is not allowed into Gaza?
There's two reasons.
They took you into Gaza.
Well, first of all, there are two ways to go into Gaza. One is with the IDF, which is what I did and what most Western journalists have done. The other is to go in with Hamas. You could probably go in with Hamas. I can't. Gideon said an appalling thing just there, that this is not about annihilation. One of the heads of Hamas, 2012, kill them all the Jews, don't leave a single one. When Yahya Sinwar said that we want to rip the hearts out of the Jews, it wasn't rhetoric. They did it. They mean it. And only the...
And neighbor, when you see that kind of post and you see that kind of language out there in that world of La La Land, they mean it. They mean it. They mean it. It's rooted in demonic. I got this title tonight, folks. This is demonic anti-Semitism. It's anti-Semitic demons. The source of this is Satan. I pray for these people's souls, folks. I do. I'm not trying to be a judge. This is not a judgment thing, but this is anti-Semitism on display in the good old-fashioned US of A and civilized nations. I think that's Britain where this is from. But he just said it. When they say it, and they want the annihilation of the Jews, and Hamas wants them all dead, that's what they want. I don't know what part of that the Biden administration does not get, and the world doesn't get tonight, and the UN don't get, and many Christian leaders don't get.
side wants to pretend they don't, for whatever reasons the psychologist would have to explain.
You're very bothered by Qatar and funding Hamas.
Your bosses.
But we're talking about bosses. Let's talk about this.
You're literally paid
Well,
by them.
what? I've interviewed. Last time I checked, the United States Congress does not fund Bashar al-Assad or the RSF militias in Sudan. So stop with this lazy whataboutism that gives you.
They do fund your friends in Tehran.
The US Congress funds Tehran.
You know very well Biden's package for Tehran.
What?
You don't know that?
US funds Iran. Okay.
See, the reporter's trying to take the moral high ground. He's looking like a complete moron, stupid idiot. But that's the media for you. The guy that is on the right there with the gray suit, he's media. The other people are pro-people, conservative people that are trying to get this thought to him. And he's saying, I didn't know Biden financed Iran. I read you the story last night, folks, that the Iranian nuke deal is a joke. It's been a joke since the day of 20. We're going on 10 years of that money being sent over there in 2015 to keep them from building that bomb. And there ain't a soul in my audience tonight, I would hope not, that would think that that money was ever used for anything other than building the bomb. Keep rolling. We got about another minute of this.
Since Biden decided to bring Iran back into JCPOA, they are no longer under the sanctions as they were, and they've been brought back into the fold. I should say, since Mehdi was honest, I'll say what I think. I think he's a very dishonest actor. A very dishonest actor. And to say what you just said about hostages would come a lot better if a contributor to Al Jazeera had not been discovered last week holding a hostage in his home.
And by the way, some of you didn't know that. World Israeli News reported there's other reporters, media types, that have been discovered, because there's about 160 something hostages left. Greta's going to talk about that. If you don't mind, can I go a little bit long tonight? Can I go a little bit further? Because what's happening is that we've got about 160 hostages still ain't been accounted for, and some of them could be dead. You know, James Akers believes that he's not sure any of them are alive. But folks, the shocking, the absolute mouth-dropping, jaw-dropping stuff that's coming out are the number of media people, reporters, that were holding these hostages in their homes in the Gaza. From Al Jazeera, other liberal agencies, pro-Muslim agencies, reporters. So what that guy just said was something that you ain't going to hear on that media out there. But he's absolutely, I'm going to play that back about 30 seconds. Listen to what he said again, very carefully. It was on Breitbart and other news agencies.
A contributor to Al Jazeera had not been discovered last week holding a hostage in his home. And if maybe cares about the Palestinian casualties, as I'm sure he does, then tell your bosses in Qatar to tell their friends in Gaza to stop the war and give back the hostages.
Can we get an amen in the house? Can we get an amen in the house on that? That was the canarymission.org. That was a really good video there. Found that tonight. That's good stuff. You folks in Ohio will be talking about this. Let me play Greta's video, and then I got a story. I'm not going to be able to get the other headlines tonight. I want to play Greta Van Susteren. I've got mixed views about Greta. She's Fox News days, but Greta's Greta. She's one of those in the middle, wishy-washy. She's liberal one day, conservative the other. But she's had an interesting point here about these hostages. I want you to listen to this about 2 minutes, and then I'm going to wrap it up with an article I want to share with you tonight, and we're going to take your questions. Y'all good out there? Y'all good out there? I think you are. Here we go.
An update on the hostages still being held since last October by Hamas terrorists in Gaza. According to the Wall Street Journal, quote, of the approximately 250 hostages taken in the Hamas-led October 7th attack, 116 continue to be held captive, and many of the 116, they're believed to be dead.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. That is the Wall Street Journal. The reason that is important tonight is that, and I'm no fan of the American Defamation League, but Wikipedia, this is how nuts this stuff gets. This is how nutty this stuff gets. The American Defamation League that is trying to, quote-unquote, stop anti-Semitism. And pardon my sarcasm, folks. I swear, this stuff, I mean, Chris is just a common sense South Georgia boy, and I just shake my head at this stuff. I do. And I know some of you are out there tonight. And you say, how can we be this blank and stupid? We can be this blank and stupid. But Wikipedia tonight is trying to get the Wall Street Journal removed as a source, as a legitimate news source from its publication and the ADL because they're fighting anti-Semitic rhetoric and telling the truth about the hostages. And she's going to say this, mediators in the hostage talks and a U.S. official familiar with the latest U.S. intelligence, this is a Wall Street Journal report a few days ago, that the number of hostages that are still alive could be as low as 50. 50. Think about that, folks. Think about that, folks. You know who's going to get blamed for the death of those hostages? It won't be Hamas. No, they ain't going to blame Hamas for that. You know who the world's going to blame? You know who the American government's going to blame? Do you know who many in the church are going to blame? Stu Peters is out there blaming the Jews for it tonight. You know, and there were reports that the Jews, the Israeli government had information and intel this was going to happen. And see, the narrative is they allowed this to happen on purpose so they could go in there and slaughter civilians in Gaza, which is, again, anti-Semitic demons talking. The devil's good. I don't hate to give him credit, but he's deceptive. He's a deceptive old booger. And he has got a haze and he has got deception on the hearts of people, folks. And I'm going to tell you again tonight, I cannot stress this enough. Your source, and my source tonight is not YouTube and the Wall Street Journal or Fox or YouTube or Facebook or X or anything else. To learn about the history and the future of the Jewish people is the Bible. People don't want to read the Bible. People don't want to read the Bible. And when they do, they twist Scripture. And I challenge these Korzakian mafia types, go find it in the Bible where the Bible ever mentions that one time. It does not. And find me historical evidence of it. You can't. All you can pull out is some Q meth-induced, nonsensical talking head who thinks Q is God. And that's how they push this narrative. They're the ones that pushed this crap a few years ago, and it got mainstream, and that's what everybody believes now. 50. I'm going to play this about another minute. I'm not going to play all 7 minutes of her. I can't stomach that, but I'm going to play about another minute.
A U.S. official familiar with the latest U.S. intelligence said that the number of the hostages who might still be alive could be as low as 50. That assessment based in part on Israeli intelligence. Doing the math, of course, that means 66 could be dead. And that is 25 more than Israel has publicly acknowledged, end quote. Here in the United States, the New York Police Department is working to track down an anti-Israel protester accused of yelling for Zionists on the subway. The NYPD releasing this wanted poster. The man on your screen entered a packed subway car at Union Square Station and then shouted, quote, "Raise your hands if you are a Zionist. Repeat after me. This is your chance to get out."
All right, and we just played you that video. We just played you that video. Let me play that video one more time for you, for those of you that went with us a few minutes ago. This is the video that she's talking about, and it's worth playing again, just to show you the depth of evil that people are doing. What did I do with that video? I had it right in front of me, and now I can't find it. Anyway, Go figure. Go figure. What did we do with it? Anyway, here it is, right here. Here's that video. I want to play this video. This is the video she's talking about. I've got about a minute of this. Let me.
Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. This is your chance to get out. This is your chance to get out. Okay, no Zionists, we're good. Woo! No Zionists here.
No Zionists here. Sort of clapping. Well, the police are looking for Mr. Anti-Zionist. Good luck. The Manhattan DA won't do nothing to him because he just let 31 of the 43 Columbia protesters threatening to burn Jews and kill Jews and saying F the Jews and Jews need to die in gas chambers and if Hitler was back, they'd all die. They would love Hitler back. None of them going to jail for nothing. Bad English. Double negative there. Miss Carol Bolton was here. She correct me tonight, my English teacher. But go ahead, Greta.
The incident happened last week on June 10th. The unidentified suspect is one on suspicion of attempted coercion and speaking of anti-Semitism. The Anti-Defamation League, an organization aimed at fighting all forms of anti-Semitism and bias, just
listen to this
campus anti-Semitism report card. That report card, first released in April, graded colleges' handling of anti-Semitism on U.S. campuses. And guess who got a big old fat F? To name a few, the University of California, Los Angeles, Harvard University, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, they all got failing grades. You can see why on your screen. Those are just a few of the anti-Israel protests that broke out on those campuses. But get this, Wikipedia is saying not to believe the Anti-Defamation League. Yes, Wikipedia, the free online encyclopedia that's written and edited by volunteers. They are accusing the Anti-Defamation League of being, quote, generally unreliable. That means from now on, it will not be possible to quote data or statements from the ADL in articles posted on Wikipedia. But is the ADL really unreliable?
Now, I'm not going to get in an argument about that, and she goes into a tribe about the ADL. I'm no fan of it. There's a lot of things that Defense League does I'm not agree with. All right. I got to post one picture because I heard Roger Hooker say this. And, Roger, this is confirmation that cowards wear hoods, by the way. I don't see much difference either. I don't see much difference either. Do y'all? I don't see difference. These are Hamas leaders and protesters. And those people on that bus. Did you notice none of them couldn't see their face? Freaking blanking cowards. Freaking blanking cowards. Freaking blanking cowards. And I'll let you fill in the blank. Because KKK wore hoods too, didn't they? They sure did. All right, now, I'm going to run over these headlines real quick and then I'll get your questions. It's about 10:30. We've been going right at 51 minutes, so we're in good shape. It's been I'm glad I stuck around and hung out with y'all tonight. It's been on fire stuff. You getting something out of this? Put some fire in that house for me. Let me read a couple of these headlines for you. We've got these stories in our Telegram room at the McFiles War Room. Social media, the Gateway Pundits reported tonight, exposes kids to pressure, pornography, and predators. We better do something, an expert warns. I'm going to save this. We're going to talk about this next week. We've got Alice Linehan coming on. By the way, the only three things, this article is telling you what they're going to run on in 24. Biden is, he's already doing it. And this is what the debate's going to be about a week from tomorrow night. He's going to try to push J6, Trump democracy. That's all they got. But the Dems are fretting. That ain't going to be enough. By the way, folks, Hezbollah, this is the enemy to Israel's north. This is the enemy to Israel's north. They claim they have over 100,000 terrorists that are ready to attack Israel. Let me come back over here and say something about that. I'm not going to read the article, but let me just say something about that. Folks, this diversion in the south, the Hamas diversion in the south, it's not a diversion, it's a terrorist attack. Look, all of Israel's enemies, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And Hezbollah and Hamas don't even like each other. The Palestinian Authority don't like Hamas. Hamas don't like the Palestinian Authority. But when it comes to Israel, they love each other because they all have the same hatred. And the Hezbollah friction is to the north, Hamas is to the south. If this is true, and I don't doubt it, that's an army. That's an army. 100,000 terrorists. Got a question for you tonight. I'm going to let you chime in on it later. I wonder how many of those kind of folks are in this country that have come in on our northern border. Just thought. We'll come back to that in a minute. I'll come back to that in a minute. But that's a story out of Gateway Pundit tonight. That is a story out of Gateway Pundit. By the way, this is another one we'll talk about next week. Goodbye, CNN. Folks, they got a total of 396,000 viewers. Not even 1 million. That was just as the week of June the 10th, last week. The people that do the ratings, not even 1 million people watched CNN last week. That is unreal. 396,000 viewers a day to the Crap News Network. By the way, all you California folks, I'm sure you're really proud of this. The taxpayers in California are spending $600,000 per unit. Guess what that is right there, folks? That's not a hotel for people. That's a homeless high-rise. Mr. Gavin Newsom is building places to put people that don't work. And you're paying for it. And I'm not trying to be snarky about the homeless folks. Your taxpayers in California need to be raising, you know what about that. But that's thanks to Gavin Newsom policies. $600,000 units. At the expense of you. That's a story on Breitbart that we've got that in our thing. This is the story I want to talk about real quick. And I'm going to be hammering this next week. Scott Presler says if every Christian voted, we would never lose another presidential election. Detroit, Michigan conservative activist Scott Presler told Breitbart News that if every Christian voted in the United States, we would never lose another presidential election. Presler, who spoke to Breitbart News Sunday at Turning Point Actions, the People's Convention, stressed the need for every Christian in America to vote. I want you to look at this. People really need to understand if every Christian in America actually voted, we would never lose another presidential election. And 30% of evangelicals, it's not that they don't even vote. 30% are not even registered to vote. We want to get people registered so they can go from the pews to the polls. He runs the voter registration organization Early Vote Action, added. The conservative activist also mentioned that the Muslim community is ripe to come over to the Republican Party. He said we're seeing big moves from the Muslim community to the Republican because A, they don't like Joe Biden's anti-peace and Middle East policies, and B, they don't like the Democrats raging a war against children by pushing, shall we say, pornographic materials in schools. He added that it is important for the Jewish community to register to vote, given that the terrorist organization Hamas is basically being embraced by the Democrats. I see people of faith in this election. They are going to be a very important coalition for Donald Trump, and that's out of Breitbart. We've got that story. I don't have time to talk about that as much as I want to, but the figure that jumped out at me tonight, folks, 30% of evangelical Christians we're not even talking about voting, they're not even registered to vote. It's that same 30% that throws every conspiracy theory out there every time we lose an election. That same 30% ain't even registered to vote. that push the worst conspiracy theories about why we lose. They always got an excuse. It ain't us. No, we did our part. And some of them ain't even registered to vote. Again, hiding behind their spiritually cowardly, impressed keyboards on Twitter and Telegram. You know where I'm at every night. I put my name on everything. I got it down here on my show. Christopher McDonald. This is the McFiles. These opinions are mine, and I don't back down. I don't care. I love you all. But I've never been running a popularity contest for 7 years. If I'd worried about popularity, I'd been gone a long time ago. But folks, this grieves me to the core that we've got that many evangelical Christians who claim that they're concerned about this country, and they act so self-righteous and so bigoted and so ready to throw stones at everything in this country and scream. They don't even, it's not just voting, folks. They don't even want to vote. And you've got this little cult out there that's claiming that, well, we can't vote for Donald Trump because there's just things about him that, you just don't know everything about Donald Trump. Well, guess what, honey? You don't know everything about any of the candidates, do you? So what you going to do, sit on your freaking blessed assurance and let the country keep going into hell like it's going? You want to stop and just let the Biden train keep wrecking and destroying what we've got? Who you going to vote for? Mickey Mouse? Who you going to vote for? Barney? Who you going to vote for? And see, religion is like a drug. It causes people not to think straight. I didn't say spirituality. I didn't say true faith makes people feel that way. No, that's not what I'm talking about, because there's a difference. But religion and religious spirits and self-righteousness and this stupidity that goes along with it, it causes people not to think right. I wish I could get 30% in a room and talk to them and ask them why they've not registered to vote. I'd be very, very curious of the reasons why. I guarantee you some of them would say, well, we don't need to get involved in politics. We don't need to get involved in the processes because it's all corrupt and we don't need to get involved in it. Well, folks, nobody said the church needs to get involved in politics, but I tell you what, we better start getting involved in our government or we won't have a church. We won't have a church. We won't have a church. Aid a believer. If everyone in the U.S. who called themselves a Christian actually was a Christian, we would not be losing the vote. I tend to believe that because I'm going to tell you the other part of that story that is intriguing that they didn't really cover and they should have covered is how many Christians went out and voted for Joe Biden because they hated Trump. I think it was Tuesday night we did a headline that most 30 to 40, 60% of the Biden, 60% of all Biden voters saying they're not even voting for Joe Biden. They just hate Trump. I wonder how many Christians are going to do that. And by the way, let me just make it abundantly clear. By you sitting on your blessed assurance in November, you are voting for Joe Biden. You are casting a vote, by the way. Because basically what you're saying is, I just like the way things are and I don't care. I don't care the country's in hell. I don't care the country's in the toilet. I don't care about the anti-Semitism. I don't care about the border. I don't care about the economy. I don't care about the gas prices. I don't care about the church being choked and the DOJ going after school board moms and the DOJ going after pastors and conservative voices and throwing Steve Bannon in jail while letting the Attorney General put his middle finger up to Congress and keeping him out of jail and this triple system of justice. Oh, we don't care about any of that, but we're going to be righteous and holy and we can't taint ourselves with this and we're going to sit at home and be good Christians by being silent. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. That's nothing but a demonic fog and a spirit, folks. It's on millions tonight. And I'll tell you something. If we don't come to our spiritual and our mind-blanking senses, this country will be no more. And I think I'll amen myself tonight on that one. And Jake, you're right. We've got to get Christians registered. They don't even register to vote. 30% of them don't even care. We don't even care. Amy says, now that will work in our advantage. People will be voting against Joe. No, they won't, Amy. No, they won't. They're not voting against Joe. They're voting against Trump. That's what I'm saying. They're voting for Joe. They're saying they're going to cast their vote for Biden because they don't like Trump. That ain't going to be our advantage. No, that's just plain stupidity. That's just plain stupidity. And there's a lot of Christians in that category. I know some of them. I got some good friends, good family members that don't talk to me, hadn't talked to me in 8 years. And I know good and well that they know better. I know that I know they got to look at the country and see the country's in the toilet, but they cannot stand Donald Trump. They just cannot stand him. They can't get beyond the hate of him. They can't get beyond his personality. They can't get beyond his tweets. They can't get beyond anything that he does. And it doesn't matter what he says, how he looks, what he breathes. I mean, if he says the sky is blue, they will have a fit and say the sky is black. If he says the ocean is water, they will say it's not water, it's something else. I'm telling you, it is truly what the conservative outlets call Trump derangement syndrome. It's called something, but it is on full display. But it's coming from religious sources too. So a vote in silence is a vote for Biden. And a vote against Trump, even though you don't like Biden, is the most dumbest thing I could ever put my word and put my mouth on tonight or against. In the absolute, I mean, that's just, it makes no common sense, but people do it. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna give you, it's 10:38. I'm gonna give you a few minutes. Can somebody? Corey says they listen to their pastors. That's what the problem is, Corey. Corey, that is exactly right. Corey Aguilar on Facebook, they do. It's coming from these pulpits, folks. It's coming from these pulpits. It's coming from these pulpits. It's coming from these pulpits. Got a question? You got a statement? Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out on this Thursday. This is our Friday free-for-all and our Thursday free-for-all rolled into one. Roger said you would think true Christians would want to preserve the Christian values and vote for those who think likewise. Roger, you would think, but look, there's a lot of Christians that I can't, look, I'm not going to, I don't know why Christians vote the way they do. It's not my business. I mean, I'm with you. It should be as clear as a nose in our face, but it gets real complicated when people are controlled by spirits that are just not right, Roger. It gets very complicated. The way I look at it, folks, if you've got a candidate that is basically out there killing babies and bragging about abortion's going to be on the ticket and I'm going to protect you women's rights to kill a baby, and you got one that's saying I'm going to protect the baby's life, and a Christian's looking at that, I don't know what part of which of that, what is evil and what's not evil, and that equation, if you frame the equation like that, and you got some Christians that cannot come to tell you in a straight face that the killing the baby is evil. Roger, that's a spiritual problem. That's not even a political problem. That's a spiritual problem. That's a spiritual problem. Now, maybe this Christian community is going to get galvanized this year. I don't know, folks, but 30% of evangelicals not even being registered to vote. That's a lot of people, folks. That's 3 out of every 10 Christians. I mean, think about that. That's a lot. And let me tell you something. In these states where the margins were razor thin, like 5,000 votes, 4,000 votes here, 3,000 votes there, 10,000 votes here, 30% of the evangelical Christians in this country would make a difference. And if they're not even voting, you can throw that, then you can just say, well, that's votes in Biden's column right there. That's votes for him. They're spiritually something. Janet says, what do you think about Trump taking away the tip tax? I think it is an excellent idea. Jake, I've heard that same rumor about Trump's going to get rid of the federal income tax. Boy, that would be a blessing. And let me tell you something. These government types, that's why they hate him. These socialists, they gotta find their money. See, that's the only way you stop socialism in a country is you cut the money off to the socialist. And their money line is us. So, Janet, how do I feel about him cutting the tip tax off? I think it's great because, honestly, I know a lot of people that work in the food industry, and it's unfair that they have to report their tips that people give them in good faith. Because when I tip a waiter or a waitress, I'm not tipping that restaurant. I'm tipping that waiter for the good service they give me. And if I have a bad waiter, I may show grace, but I don't tip him a lot. But if somebody gives me good service, I bless them every time I can. I do. But I've had them tell me, some of them, they got to pay taxes on whatever they get over and above their salary. And their salaries are poverty. Some of them don't even make $5 an hour. And these restaurants need to take care of their people. You know, I've been thinking about doing a show sometimes about things we need to get back to, and good manners is one, good service is another. And human beings, are we not tired of calling our companies up and having to go to 18 freaking holds to get to one human when the one human could fix the problem in 5 minutes? Things we need to get back to. That's going to be a good show one night. And Rebecca, that's right. Cash is the way to tip them because they have to claim it if it's anything. If you put it on the card, they got to claim it, and it's wise to tip them in cash. You're very right. Pat Paula C says, it says Christians say Jesus is coming soon and we can change anything. So why get involved in politics? Paula, there's some truth in that. Jesus is coming soon. But he's not come yet. He's not come yet. I'm going to tell you something. If this country goes, if this thing goes wrong in November, folks, and let me tell you something, there's no guarantee tonight. I don't care what the polls are saying. I don't care what's being put out there. I don't care what's being blustered, how bad Biden is. We underestimated this force of evil in 2020, and we better not underestimate this force of evil in 24, because it's still there. The apparatus that caused what happened in 2020, it is still in place tonight. And probably more powerful in many ways, because now it controls the government right now. But I've always said this, folks. My buddy Bill Federer, he's coming back next week, actually. He'll be here with us first week of July. But he told me something one day. I was driving to the airport with him, taking him to the airport. And he said, Chris, he said, when Christians say that they don't need to get involved in government, he said the reason it's important for us to get involved is that if you don't get involved in government, you ain't going to have a country to get involved with. And he said it makes people of faith not understand this, that their liberty, it's about liberty and freedom, folks. Look, one thing that Alice Linehan talks about in her interview, she has seen a lot of these right-wing, hardcore, conservative Christian groups try to push curriculum in on the public school system. And while that in a perfect world is what we need, you can't push a religious ideology on people. You just can't do it. Not in a free society. Not in a democratically elected republic. You can't do it. You hope your leaders are godly. And you hope your leaders respect freedom. Because when they respect freedom, all religions are safe. If you don't respect freedom and they're communists and socialists, the only religion that's not safe becomes Christianity. Because they're not going to touch the Islam, the Muslims. They're not going to touch any of the other religions out there. They ain't going to do it. Christianity is on their list. And I told you this Tuesday night, folks. That is who they're coming after in November. If this thing goes wrong, the world is going to change for the Christian faith here in this country unlike it's ever changed, and it's not going to be a good change. It's already bad, but I see it on steroids. Your point is well taken, Paula. Your point is well taken, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Tony Salamoni, Christians are to be involved in government, not politics. There's a big difference, and I've said that over and over, Tony. I've said that over and over. I don't advocate politics, folks. Politics is a dirty, nasty, toxic, ungodly business, but government is different. And the Bible teaches the Christian believer to be subject to the higher powers and to make sure we pray for those over us that we may live peaceably in this nation. And the way that the Christian exercises that practice is through the voting booth and through prayer. And through prayer. That's how we get involved. And, you know, I saw Lord Trump, they're mobilizing nearly 500,000 poll workers for November right now. They're getting people involved to make sure this election is held with integrity. And that's another way I would strongly urge you, especially in these blue states. These blue states, if you're in a blue state tonight, find a local poll station, sign up. It's just June, July, still got plenty of time. And they'll make sure you're down there, making sure there ain't no shenanigans. That's how we get involved. And ultimately, that's all we can do. And leave the rest in God's hands. Leave the rest in God's hands. Peggy, we were told to occupy till he comes. That's very true. That's very true. Jake says, I pay more than any of my fair share of taxes here in Chicago. They tax you for breathing here. Second highest property tax and gas tax in the city, in the nation. I don't doubt that, brother. Amy Miller says, the churches have allowed the words separation of church and state to mean that God has to be taken out of everything. The result has destroyed our culture. When you remove God, you remove the source of life and blessings. Amy, I'm so glad you said that. It's good to see you tonight. Enjoy talking to you today. Our South Dakota family up there, we're coming back to see you guys soon. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a tool of the left and the right, because they bring the separation of church and state up. The Bible, folks, can I tell you, teaches separation of church and state. It does. The church has no business. We're not here proselyting Republicans to run for mega candidacies. No, we're out there preaching the gospel to the lost that they come to Jesus. But I tell you what the Bible does not teach. It doesn't teach the separation of God and state. Nations that have honored God, and Amy, your point is spot on, they are blessed. Why do you think this nation has been blessed all these years? Why do you think America has prospered like we have since her inception? Why do you think America has been the world's only superpower? And even in a weakened state tonight, she is still the world's superpower. We're losing that. But even tonight, you can mark it down. There's no nation on the face of this earth like America. There just ain't. That's why elections matter. That's why presidents matter. That's why leaders matter. Because they direct that ship. They direct the course of that. But we're blessed because God has been our God. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. And when a nation forsakes God, it forsakes its blessing. Amen, that's spot on. But the churches are the barometer, folks. The churches are the ones that are to lead the nation spiritually. The spiritual leadership of the nation doesn't rest in that White House. It rests in those pulpits. It rests in those pulpits. Very good point, Amy. Excellent point, my friend. Good to see you tonight. Good to see you. Tracy Graham says, my heart breaks and has done so since October the 7th. The devil and his minions are doing what they want. How can churches and so-called Christians not stand up to this evil? We all have to face Jesus in the end, God and Israel, and God bless you, Chris, for doing this tonight. I thank you for that, Tracy. I like what I do. Thank you for being here. Tracy's over the seas. She's overseas. All right. It's late. I've done my hour and 16 minutes. Did you get something out of this tonight? Now, you folks in Ohio, you better get ready. McMahon's fired up tonight. Now, I'm going to have a trip in the morning to unwind and sort of decompress before I get up there. But we're going to light it up this weekend in Dalton, Ohio. That's all I got to say. We're going to light it up. And we're going to do our best to broadcast the conference. Probably on the Faith Network. You'll have to subscribe to our Faith Network. Folks, if you've not subscribed to our news network, please do. YouTube is really playing with some things right now with our numbers, and we need you to subscribe and share the network out and bring people to it. All you X followers, thank you for following us. We've had a record number of views on X over the last few weeks. When I say X followers, I'm talking about the letter X, not EX. There's a reason why it's so funny to me when I say that. We're not talking about you X listeners. I don't know if you're even out there tonight, but that's all right. But the X listeners, I mean the former Twitter listeners, you Facebook folks, we love you too. Thank y'all for the questions tonight. McFilesForum@gmail.com. If you got something you want to chime in all you want to there. And may the Lord bless you. Jake says, anyone looking forward to the debate next Thursday? Not really, Jake, to be honest with you. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. Well, we're going to talk about that debate next week. We're going to get James R. on. We're going to have Magdalene Rose coming back. I'll get Magdalene's take on it. And James Akers will be with me. Brad Johnson. Alice Linehan next week. Bill Federer will be back first week of July. Ricky Wilson, by the way. Ricky Wilson coming in Monday night late, so we'll have her on the network. And some old crazy dude called Christopher W. McDonald will be here hosting every night, running his mouth, getting himself in trouble like he always does. I want to tell everybody thank you all for your donations. Thank you all for your support. I haven't mentioned this in a while, and it's my fault. It's not Natalie's fault, but I'm always doing this, and I don't know why. I'm going to go out on the screen, but I'm going to show you this real quick before we leave you tonight. I'm going to come back. I'll come back here before we go out. But I do want to show you the folks from Who's Your Warrior Coffee. Great company up in Indiana, and I'm always forgetting to show this, and I need to not do this because she is a great friend, and it's a great company. who'syourwarriorcoffee.com/McFiles. They're veteran-owned up in Brownsburg, Indiana. And they're roasted. The coffee's roasted and shipped. Once they're placed, a portion of every sale helps the McFiles. It makes a difference with our show. And some of you have ordered that coffee, and I hope you've enjoyed it. They're good folks, and they'll take good care of you. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, no shows tomorrow up until 7. It'll all be on the Faith Network. No show here on the News Network tomorrow night. Unless Armageddon hits, something happens, I'll find a way to get on with the audio at least up there. But as of now, no show tomorrow night or Saturday. And then our next show here will be Monday night with Ricky Wilson on the News Network. And then our Faith show will be Sunday night for Sunday night Bible study. And then, of course, our conference starting tomorrow night at 7, then Saturday 10, 2, and 7. So 4 sessions, about an hour, hour and a half apiece. And we're going to take your questions up there. We're going to have a good time of fellowship. It's just going to be a good weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing you folks in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, that Midwest, upper Midwest. I hear it's a heat wave going on. So dress appropriately, and but we'll be inside. So the heat will be outside, we'll be inside. And we're looking forward to being with you. Thank you for your prayers. If you feel led to help us with our travel cost, P.O. Box 50942 Knoxville 37950, but ZELLE. We use ZELLE, chrismac44@gmail.com, a very easy way to give. PayPal.me/themcfiles, Cash.App /$themcfiles. And Venmo is also an easy way to give, TheMcFilesChris. And we thank you for that. And we thank you all for that have helped support the show and do so every week, every day, every month, every year. We're grateful for you. Hope you had a good time tonight, and we're going to let you go now. And until I see you tomorrow night from Ohio, Chris McDonald out. I'll be back here on the News Network Monday night with the one and only Ricky Wilson, and we got a jam-up week ahead next week. It's going to be wall-to-wall. The debate, Thursday night, we'll have coverage of it. I'll have some thoughts on that next week, but not tonight, because it's time to say goodnight. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed out there. We love you guys. Be safe. Fight the fight, folks. Fight the fight. Fight the fight. Fight the fight. Keep fighting for your country. Get involved in your government. Have a good night, everybody.